Night Trap for the Sega CD celebrates its 25th anniversary with a remaster for the PlayStation 4. Remasters are a great way to introduce a classic game to players who might not have had the chance to play it back when it was originally released. So if a game gets the remaster treatment, it's gotta be pretty good, right? But while Night Trap is considered a cult classic, the controversy that surrounded the game is actually remembered before the gameplay itself. I've yet to play it, so let's see if it holds up 25 years later, or if people have fallen into a nostalgia trap. Night Trap was released in 1992 for the Sega CD. During this time, the Sega CD saw many releases that featured full motion video, where instead of the use of sprites, you had videos of cartoons or live action people. It was pretty cutting edge at the time, with one of the most popular FMV games being Dragon's Lair. Night Trap used this technique and created an interactive movie, where you'd watch video sequences with the chance to affect the outcome on the screen. This means that the narrative is the focal point of the game. So a forewarning, if you're not into campy horror type movies, this will be painful to watch. Teenagers have gone missing as of late, and the mysterious Martin family is at the center of the investigation. The agents of the unfortunately named Special Control Attack Team,
or
SCAT, are staking out the Martin home. They send in undercover agent Kelly to accompany some teenage girls into the Martin house after they were invited to stay the weekend by the young Martin's daughter. As the story progresses, you find out the Martins are actually vampires, and they have been luring teens in to drain them of their blood. The Martins aren't all bad though. They do share the blood with the deformed augurs, a group of trash bag wearing baddies who are not quite vampires, but also need blood to survive. Where does all this madness leave you, the player? You're actually watching all this play out over 8 security cameras placed throughout the house. I was surprised with how the story was pretty coherent, especially for horror. There are funny one-liners from the characters and some so bad it's good delivery. It's over the top and slightly charming, like when Kelly pulls out a gun and attempts to shoot Tony. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this as a short movie, if only to make fun of it with friends. The problems with Night Trap stem from the gameplay. Mind-numbingly simplistic. You jump from camera to camera searching for the augurs roaming the house. You have control of traps, and when you find one of the augurs, you press a button at the right time to engage a trap to take them out and save the girls. The trappings are funny to see the first time, but the footage gets recycled countless times over for each room. If you fail to save a girl or let too many augurs into the house, you will get a game over and have to start from scratch. Catch most of the augurs in the Martin family, and then you'll win. Remember how I mentioned the story of the game is the focus? Yeah, it is, but you won't actually get to watch the story play out because you'll be jumping across cameras every few seconds to try and find these damn augurs. It interrupts the flow of the story and makes multiple playthroughs mandatory to see all the scenes. So now that you're playing the same 25-minute movie over and over to finally get it right, any humor that you may have found during the first viewing of a scene is lost and it gets real old real quick. The scene where Megan starts singing into a tennis racket made me chuckle the first time, but after the 15th time, I wanted a tennis racket to the temple. Trial and error is the name of the game, and you better start memorizing or writing down timestamps as to the augur's location so you can actually finish. Imagine this game as some sort of demonic DVD player, where every 15 seconds into an awful movie, it keeps asking if you want to continue watching. And if you don't press yes fast enough, it starts the whole movie over again. Sounds like hell on earth, right? Well, that's what it's like playing Night Trap. The only other gameplay element is every now and then the access code changes on the traps. It will randomly cycle through colors, and if you're not on the correct one, the traps won't work. You get the new color code by listening to key scenes of the villains talking, but if you miss the scene, you're screwed. Graphically, there's not much to say, since this is an FMV game. There's live action people, nothing really to complain about, but it doesn't stand out in any way whatsoever. The costumes and special effects are really poor quality, and extremely dated even for the time period. There's really no soundtrack to speak of. The only songs you'll hear are when you find an augur in the room sneaking around, and of course the dance number. The theme song is pure 90s cheese, again slightly funny, but you won't have any urge to listen to it ever again. Night Trap is in part responsible for the video game rating system we have today, along with Mortal Kombat. The game was seen as disgusting trash, and as sexually aggressive towards women. While it does feature scantily clad co-eds, your goal is actually to rescue them from the augurs, not harm them. One scene in particular was singled out and even used in the US Senate hearing about video game violence. Lisa is about to take a shower, she's dressed in a nightgown, and the augurs surprise attack her. If you don't save her in time, they clasp the collar around her neck and suck the blood out of her. And that's it. Extremely tame by today's standards, and I'd even argue that there were movies out there rated PG that did things that were way worse. Like in the movie Poltergeist, that guy rips his own face off. In context, the scene with Lisa made sense, and I don't think it was bad at all. To me, there was a different scene that seemed more gratuitous. When we are first introduced to Cousin Tony, in the background, Cindy just takes her shirt off. Now that seems a bit scandalous, even in context. Sales started soaring after the hearings, and it quickly became a cult classic, selling over 400,000 copies by 1998. The controversy surrounding this game was the best thing that could have ever happened to it, because without it, it would be lost in the history of gaming. Nostalgia, 1,000 times nostalgia. There's no reason why this game was remastered other than to grab cash from nostalgic fans. There's nothing redeeming about the story that it needed to be retold to a new generation. The gameplay, if you can even call it that, was so shallow that it's insulting. This is one of the worst and most painfully frustrating video game experiences I've ever had, and no amount of campy humor can help salvage it. The critics of the 90s were right to call this game trash, but not from any moral standpoint, simply because it's so bad that it deserves to be in the garbage. Don't waste your time on this, don't waste your money on this, because one playthrough is one too many. And if you disagree with my review, well, this time it's not okay, because Night Trap is objectively a bad game. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time, and remember, it's all fun and games. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to subscribe to It's All Fun and Games, share with your friends, and check out my review of the latest Sonic game, Sonic Mania. Thanks again.